Before we begin, I need you to do one thing. Turn off the lights, close the curtains, and put your phone face down. What you're about to hear was sent to me anonymously, an email, marked only with the words, "For those who still dream." It's the account of someone who swears this happened to them. They say it started with a friend, a camera feed from across the world, and a woman who should never have been real. Some say it's a hoax. Others say the footage still exists, buried somewhere online. I don't know what's true anymore, but if you find yourself dreaming of a bridge over a foreign city, wake up before she does. Now, this is the woman on the bridge. When Jake told me he had something to show me, I thought it'd be one of his dumb little projects again. Some Reddit rabbit hole, or a weird YouTube channel he'd stumbled across at 3 a.m. But there was something in his voice that night that made my stomach twist a little. I hadn't heard him sound that excited in months, not since before. Everything happened. Jake and I had been friends since middle school. We'd been through bad breakups, dead-end jobs, and all the dumb stuff young men put each other through. But 3 months ago, Jake vanished. His parents told me they found him wandering along the interstate outside town, barefoot, dehydrated, and rambling in a language they didn't recognize. For days, he didn't even remember his own name. Doctors said it was a dissociative episode. That's the kind of phrase people use when they have no idea what's really wrong. He spent 2 months in a psychiatric facility. When he finally got out, he looked better on paper, clean, stable, medicated. But when I saw him, something was off. His eyes didn't rest anywhere for long. His hands twitched when he thought no one was looking. He smiled, but it never reached his eyes. Still, he was Jake, my friend. I told myself I owed it to him to treat him like nothing had changed. The night he called me, I almost didn't pick up. It was late, and I'd just gotten home from work, but his voice was trembling with excitement. "Man, I finally figured it out. I can show you. You just have to see it." I tried to joke it off. See what another conspiracy. A new magic trick. He laughed a quick, nervous sound. No, it's real this time. Just let me come over. You'll understand when you see it." Something in the way he said that made me hesitate. He sounded lucid, but too calm, like he was balancing on a line between reality and something else. Against my better judgment, I told him to come by. 20 minutes later, there was a knock at my door. When I opened it, Jake stood there with a laptop tucked under his arm, hair disheveled, eyes wide and bright. He looked both exhausted and elated, like he hadn't slept in days but didn't care. "Hey," I said cautiously. "You good, man?" He grinned, an old familiar grin I hadn't seen in a long time. "Better than good. You're about to see something amazing." The air in my apartment felt different with him inside. It wasn't just tension. It was this strange pressure, like the room itself was waiting. He set the laptop on the kitchen counter and flipped it open. I've been watching something no one else has noticed. My heart sank a little. I'd heard this tone before, the one he used before everything fell apart. The tone that always meant I found proof. "Jake," I started, trying to keep my voice. "Even you've been taking your meds, right?" He didn't even look at me. His fingers hovered over the trackpad, trembling slightly. "Of course, but it doesn't matter. I'm not sick, man. I was never sick. I was just seeing something I wasn't supposed to." He looked up then, and for the first time, I noticed how bloodshot his eyes were. Not just from lack of sleep, they were strained, like he'd been staring at something too bright for too long. "What are you about to show me?" I asked quietly. Jake smiled again. It was the kind of smile that made my skin crawl. Proof that I'm not crazy. And that was the moment, standing in the half-light of my kitchen, listening to the hum of my fridge and the rain outside, that I realized something was wrong. Not just with Jake, with whatever he was about to drag me into. He turned the laptop toward me, and a faint reflection of a city skyline glowed on the screen. "This," he whispered, "is where it all began." Jake's laptop glowed in the dim kitchen light, the bluish hue washing over his pale face. The page he'd opened wasn't one I recognized. No social media, no YouTube, nothing familiar at all. Just a bare-bones site with a blocky timestamp and a grainy live feed. The video showed a city somewhere far away, sunlit, crowded, busy. Cars sped along a wide freeway. Beyond it stretched buildings with bright rooftops and signs in some foreign language. In the upper corner of the frame, a pedestrian bridge arched across the lanes, people shuffling over it like ants. I leaned closer. "What is this? Some kind of city?" "Cam." Jake nodded. "It's live. Traffic camera from Kuala Lumpur. I found it last month." "Okay," I said slowly. "That's cool, I guess. But why are you watching it?" He didn't answer. He just stared at the screen, eyes flicking across the pedestrians. His hand trembled on the mouse. Then he said, almost under his breath, "Wait for it." I glanced between him and the monitor. One woman was crossing the bridge, a squat figure with graying hair tied back in a bun, her movements stiff, mechanical. There was nothing remarkable about her, but Jake sat forward, completely still, like he'd spotted a ghost. "There," he whispered. "That's her. Who, the woman from my dreams?" I gave a nervous laugh. "Jake, I'm serious," he said sharply. "I've seen her for months. Every night, the same place, the same face. I didn't know if she was real until I found this feed." He zoomed in. The pixels blurred, but the shape of her became clearer. A woman in her 50s, maybe plain clothes, moving with that same strange stiffness. "You're saying she's the same woman you've been dreaming about?" He nodded. "Not just dreaming about, living as." The words hung between us, heavy and absurd. "Jake," I said softly, "that's not listen." He cut me off. I used to think the dreams were random, but they weren't. They were memories. I could feel her world, smell the air, touch things there. I could walk through streets I'd never been to. Then one morning, I woke up with dirt under my nails and a bruise on my wrist I couldn't explain. He looked at me, then pleading for belief. I thought I was losing it, until I found this camera, and she was right there. I swallowed hard. My instincts screamed to change the subject, to calm him down, to find a gentle way out of this delusion. But a small, dangerous part of me, maybe the part that missed the old Jake the Curious one, wanted to see where he was going. "So what exactly are you going to show me?" His mouth curled into a grin that didn't match the fear in his eyes. "Proof." He closed his eyes for a moment, took a deep breath, and then stared back at the feed. "She's walking now. Watch what happens next." The woman moved slowly to the middle of the bridge and stopped, looking down at the traffic below. Her hands hung limply at her sides. Jake lifted his right arm, slow and deliberate. A chill ran up my spine. On the screen, the woman's arm began to rise. Not instantly, but seconds later, like she was mimicking him through a thick pane of glass. I blinked hard, leaning in, until my nose was almost touching the screen. She raised her arm higher, mirroring him perfectly. "What the hell?" I whispered. Jake's breath, came out ragged. You see it, don't you? He raised his other arm. The woman did too. This isn't possible, I muttered. It's a delay? Oh no, he said, almost laughing. It's me. I can feel it when she moves. He lowered his arms, and after a pause, she did the same. I took a step back, my mouth dry. Jake, please tell me you're joking. He looked at me with something like triumph, like relief. I told you I wasn't crazy. She's real, and she's mine. My throat tightened. I wanted to believe it was some kind of trick, a glitch in the feed, anything other than what he was saying. But the way he stared at that screen, it wasn't madness. It was devotion. She doesn't know I'm here yet, he murmured. But she will. And as if on cue, the woman on the bridge turned her head towards the camera. Her face was still a blur, but I could swear she was smiling. I wanted to believe it was coincidence, a glitch, a lag in the video, maybe even some kind of pre-recorded trick. But Jake's eyes told me he wasn't faking it. He was watching that woman the way a puppeteer watches his marionette. Ask me to do something, he said. Something simple. I didn't answer right away. My heart was thudding, and the room felt too small. Jake, whatever this is, just pick something, please. His voice cracked, and there was desperation in it, almost fear. I need you to see it. I sighed and tried to keep my voice steady. Fine. Raise your left arm. He did, slow and deliberate. A few seconds later, the woman on the bridge raised hers too. The breath left my body. No, I whispered. Jake smiled, a faint tremor running through his jaw. Again. Put your arm down, I said, barely above a whisper. They lowered their arms together. My throat was dry. Every rational thought I had screamed that this was some elaborate hoax, but there was nothing elaborate about Jake's trembling hands or the sweat beading on his forehead. There was nothing staged about the delay between his movements and hers. It wasn't perfect. It was off by a few seconds, rough around the edges, human. Okay, I said. You've proved your point. Let's just... He cut me off. No, you still think it's a trick. Do something harder. I hesitated, then said the first thing that came to mind. Jump. He bent his knees and hopped once. The woman did the same, jerky and stiff, like her body didn't know how. The delay was longer this time, maybe 3 or 4 seconds, but she did it. My stomach turned. Jake was shaking now, exhilarated and terrified all at once. You see, I can reach across to her. I can touch her world. I took a step back. You're hurting her. He looked at me like I'd spoken nonsense. No, I'm just proving I can. That it's real. Jake, stop. You don't know what you're doing. His lips twisted into a grin. Then tell me to do something else. Something you'll believe. I swallowed hard. Slap yourself. He didn't hesitate. The crack echoed in the tiny kitchen. His cheek reddened instantly. On the screen, the woman reeled backward, clutching her face. Jesus, Jake, stop. He hit himself again, harder. The woman followed. I saw a dark smear bloom beneath her nose, a glint of red. Jake? I grabbed his arm, but he yanked away. Blood shone on his teeth as he grinned at me. You believe me now? I stared at the laptop, horrified. The woman had fallen to her knees on the bridge, one hand braced on the railing. Her face was hidden by shadow, but I thought, God help me. I thought she was smiling too. Stop it, I whispered. You're going to kill her. Jake's breathing slowed. He looked almost peaceful. I just needed someone to see, to know I'm not crazy. Then, as suddenly as it began, it was over. He dropped his hands to his sides. On the screen, the woman stood, shakily turned and began to shuffle away down the bridge, disappearing into the glare of the sun. For a long time, neither of us spoke. The hum of the refrigerator filled the silence. Finally, I managed. "What did you just do?" Jake wiped his mouth with the back of his hand, smearing the blood. "Nothing, she didn't let me." I wanted to argue, to shout at him, but something in his expression stopped me. He wasn't gloating anymore. He looked haunted, like he'd crossed a line he couldn't uncross. "Jake," I said quietly, "this isn't right. Whatever's happening, you have to stop." He nodded slowly, but I could see it in his eyes. The curiosity hadn't gone anywhere. If anything, it had deepened. "I can feel her, even now," he murmured, "like she's still there waiting." I shut the laptop with a sharp snap. "Enough." He flinched at the sound, but didn't argue. We stood there for a moment, two friends who suddenly didn't recognize each other. When he finally looked up, there was a faint smile on his lips. "It's okay, man. You'll understand soon." And then he left, the echo of his footsteps fading down the hall, leaving me alone with the memory of that woman's bleeding face burned into my mind, and the sinking feeling that the delay between them wasn't lag at all. It was distance, and Jake was closing it. I didn't sleep that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her face, or what little I'd seen of it. The way her body jerked the blood trickling down her lip, the faint, awful smile. When morning came, I half expected to get a call from Jake's parents saying he'd hurt himself again, or worse. But there was nothing, just silence. He texted me around noon. "Thanks for letting me show you. I needed someone else to see." I didn't respond. I didn't know what to say. For a few days, I tried to convince myself it had been some elaborate illusion. Maybe he'd programmed a bot or hacked the feed, or hell, maybe I'd imagined the whole thing. But then a week later, he called again. His voice was calm, almost too calm. "I figured it out," he said. "Figured what out? How it works, why it happens." Against every shred of common sense, I went to see him. Jake's apartment was dark when I arrived, curtains drawn tight. The air smelled stale, like someone had been living in the dark for too long. His laptop sat open on the coffee table. The same webcam feed paused mid-frame. He looked different, paler, thinner. His pupils were huge, his voice quieter. But when he saw me, his face lit up. "I was right," he said. "It's not sickness, it's connection. Jake, you're scaring me." He gestured for me to sit. "Just listen, please. I have to tell someone before it drives me insane." I sat. He ran a shaking hand through his hair. It started before I lost it in class. I'd fall asleep and wake up somewhere else, always the same city, always the same woman. I could see her hands when I looked down. I could walk around. Sometimes I'd talk to people there, and they'd talk back like it was completely normal. He gave a small, nervous laugh. "I even learned words I don't know here, a language I've never studied." I didn't interrupt. I just watched his face as he spoke, the way it tightened and twitched. One night, he went on, I realized it wasn't just me dreaming her. It was her dreaming me. We're like reflections. When I'm here, she's there. When I sleep, I wake up as her. It's always been both of us. "That doesn't make sense," I said quietly. He nodded quickly, his voice trembling. "I know. But I felt her thoughts, man. Her fears. She's real. I think she knows about me now." He paused, then looked straight at me. That day in algebra when I freaked out, I wasn't even here. I was her. She must have seen something, realized I was inside her, and she panicked. Next thing I knew, I was in the hospital. I rubbed my face. Jake, even if what you're saying is true, you're talking about controlling another person. You could be hurting her. His eyes darkened. I didn't ask for this. But it's not possession, it's entanglement. Like two minds caught in the same signal. He leaned closer. When I was locked up, I tried to stop it. Meditation meds, anything to block her out. But she kept pulling me back. So I started fighting back, pushing instead of resisting. And it worked. Worked. You mean the bridge thing? He nodded. I made her go there. I thought if I could get her in view of the camera, I could prove it was real. And I did. I shook my head trying to process it. You don't know what that means. You could be destroying her life. He looked at the floor for a long moment, then whispered, You think I don't know that? Every time I do it, I feel her fear. She doesn't understand what's happening. But I can't stop now. I have to know why it's happening. I have to finish it. Finish what he raised his eyes to mine. And there was something in them that made my blood run cold. This mix of wonder and dread. The connection. I think it's growing stronger. I don't know who started it, me or her, but it's not done yet. I can feel it stretching between us tighter every day, like a thread. If I pull hard enough, maybe one of us breaks free. I wanted to scream at him, to shake him, to drag him outside, and make him see sunlight again. Instead, I said softly, Jake, maybe you're right, but maybe the best thing is to stop pulling. He gave a small, sad smile. I can't. I stood up to leave. The weight in the room was unbearable, now heavy and electric. Before I walked out, I turned back and said, If you keep going down this path, you're going to lose yourself again. Or worse. He nodded, eyes distant. Maybe that's what it wants. As I closed the door behind me, I caught a glimpse of the laptop screen still running the paused feed. The woman was frozen mid-step on the bridge, her head turned toward the camera. And though I knew it wasn't possible, I could have sworn her mouth had moved just enough to form a single word. Help. For a few days, I tried to pretend everything was normal again. I went to work, watched TV, met friends. But whenever I saw a reflection in a dark window, or caught a glimpse of a face in a crowd, I thought I saw her, the woman from the bridge. Jake stopped answering my texts. The longer I went without hearing from him, the heavier the dread grew in my chest. Finally, one evening, I drove across town to his apartment. He looked surprised to see me, but let me in. The place was darker than before, almost cave-like. The curtains were nailed shut this time. His laptop still sat on the table, humming quietly. Have you been sleeping? I asked. He smiled weakly. Not much. Doesn't help. I nodded toward the computer. You're still watching her. He hesitated, then said, I can't stop. She keeps showing up. Every time I check, she's there somewhere. Sometimes she waves. The casual way he said it made my stomach twist. Jake, you have to stop doing this, I said. Whatever this connection is, it's not healthy. You're both getting hurt. He gave a small laugh. You sound like my doctor. Maybe he's right. You said she's real, right? That means she's suffering too. You have to let her go. He turned to me, then the glow from the screen painting his face, ghost white. You think I haven't tried? I stopped taking the meds. They made everything numb, but she still came through. The only time I feel quiet is when I'm in her. When I'm her. Jake, look, he said sharply. I didn't choose this, but I'm not crazy. I just need to prove it to someone who matters. I took a step forward, lowering my voice. And then, what? What happens when you prove it? You think people will believe you. They'll lock you up again. Or worse, they'll experiment on you. That made him pause. His eyes flicked to the window, then back at me. You think they'd really do that? Yes, I said firmly. If you can control someone halfway across the world, do you really think they'll let you walk free? He went silent. The muscles in his jaw worked as if he were grinding the thought in his head. After a long moment, he whispered, "Maybe you're right." I moved closer, placing a hand on his shoulder. Just stop watching. Delete the link. Pretend it never happened. You'll be fine if you give it time. He looked up at me, eyes glistening. Do you really think I can just walk away from it? Yeah, I said. You're strong enough. The Jake I know would never hurt anyone just to prove a point. He gave a slow nod and wiped his eyes. Then he surprised me by pulling me into a quick, almost desperate hug. Thanks, man, he murmured. You're probably right. When I pulled back, I forced a smile. Good. Get some rest, okay? He nodded again, and for a moment, it felt like I'd reached him. I turned to go, but something on the laptop caught my eye. The screen was still open to the same traffic camera. The bridge looked empty, bright daylight, clear sky. I told myself not to look closer, not to give in, but my eyes betrayed me. Far in the distance, a shape moved tiny, almost out of sight. The woman. She was walking across the bridge, her head bowed her steps, slow and deliberate. I froze. Jake. He hadn't moved. His eyes were fixed on me now, not the screen. What did you tell her to do that? He shook his head. No, not this time. We both turned toward the screen. The woman had stopped walking. Slowly, she lifted her head and looked straight into the camera. A shiver crawled down my spine. Is it just me? I whispered. Or is she Jake? Leaned forward. Smiling, I couldn't answer. Her mouth opened just slightly enough to reveal a glimpse of teeth. For a split second, I thought I saw her lips move in sync with Jake's breathing. He shut the laptop with a hard snap. I think you should go. The finality in his tone told me not to argue. As I stepped out into the night air, I glanced back through his window. He was still sitting there in the dark, the faint blue glow of the screen peeking through the cracks in the curtain. That was the last time I saw him before everything went wrong. 2 weeks passed. We texted here and there, simple stuff. Memes, old jokes, little things that made me believe Jake was climbing back to normal. He said the dreams were weaker now that the connection was fading. I wanted to believe it. God, I needed to believe it. We even planned to go hiking the following weekend. He sounded lighter, steadier. But 2 nights before we were supposed to go, I woke to pounding on my door. It was after midnight. I stumbled out of bed, heart thudding. And when I opened the door, Jake nearly fell through. He was drenched in sweat, wild-eyed breathing, like he'd been running for miles. They're following me, he gasped. She's following me. I grabbed his shoulders. Jake, slow down. Who's following you? He pushed past me into the living room, locking the door behind him. I saw her. I saw the car again. Red. Same one. Been behind me for 2 days. I thought I lost it, but it's here. Jake, what car? He pointed toward the balcony, shaking. Down there. Look. I hesitated, then slid open the glass door and stepped out into the cold night air. The parking lot below glowed orange under the street lamps. At first, I didn't see anything unusual, just my car, a few empty spaces. Then I spotted it. A red sedan, parked directly next to mine. Windows tinted too dark to see through. Okay, I said carefully. Maybe it's just a coincidence. You don't know it's... He cut me off, voice trembling. It's her. She's here. I turned to him. What are you talking about? He came closer, clutching the balcony railing. The woman from the bridge. For a second, I almost laughed. It was too absurd. But then I followed his gaze. Directly below us, half hidden in the shadows, a figure stood beside the red car. Short, older shoulders hunched, black and grey hair tied back. My blood turned to ice. It was her. Jake. She found me, he whispered. I don't know how, but she found me. Jake, it can't be her. That's impossible. He started to hyperventilate, backing away from the railing. You don't understand. If she's here, then she's awake, and I'm still inside her. It means the connection's breaking. It means he stumbled, clutching his chest. His body jerked violently. Jake, I rushed to him as he collapsed to his knees, convulsing. His eyes rolled back, breath catching in his throat. I tried to steady him, but he was shaking too hard. Below us, the woman moved. She stepped out into the open, staring up at our balcony. Even from that distance, I could see her tears glinting in the light. Please, she said. Her voice was barely audible, but somehow carried through the night. Don't. I'm sorry. Then she lifted her right hand. A small silver object glinted there. It took me a moment to realize it was a box cutter. My scream caught in my throat as she pressed the blade against her neck. No, Jake's body arched upward with a guttural gasp. The woman slashed the blade across her throat, crimson spraying across her blouse. He collapsed instantly limp in my arms. Below, she staggered, then crumpled beside the car, her blood pooling in the light. I froze. The air around us seemed to vanish. My body moved on instinct, grabbing my phone, calling for help, words tumbling out incoherently. But my eyes never left Jake's face. He wasn't bleeding. He wasn't cut. But he looked different. When his eyelids fluttered open, his breathing had steadied. His expression was calm, eerily calm. Jake, I whispered. You're okay. Stay still. Ambulance is coming. He blinked, then looked at me with a faint smile. Thank you for having me over. But I think I'm okay now. He stood up slowly, every movement too precise, too careful. His head tilted slightly, as though adjusting to a new weight. I stepped back. Jake, what the hell just happened? He met my gaze. His eyes looked wrong, warmer, somehow softer. But not his. We should call the authorities, he said. His voice was calm, deliberate, foreign, in rhythm. They'll want to know. I just nodded numb and stumbled for the phone again. I called 911, stammered through what I'd seen. When the sirens came, I opened the door for the paramedics. They asked questions I couldn't answer. Who was she? Why was she there? Why was she dead? Jake stood beside me, through it all, silent, watching. When they finally took her body away, the street below was washed red and flashing blue. He turned to me and smiled faintly. I should be getting home. I stared at him. Home, Jake. You can't just... I'm fine, he interrupted gently. Really? There was a strange lilt in his voice, then a quiet accent that hadn't been there before. Something foreign. He placed a hand on my shoulder, and his fingers felt ice cold. Thank you for your help. I couldn't speak. As he turned to leave, I managed Jake. Please tell me it's still you. He paused in the doorway. For a moment he didn't answer. Then that same faint, eerie smile crossed his lips. No, he said softly. But he's at peace now. He walked into the night, and I never saw him again. When the police finally left, I went back to the balcony. The air still smelled like metal. I looked down at the dark stain on the pavement where the woman had fallen. The red car was gone. Somewhere far off, a siren wailed, and in that hollow silence that followed, I thought I heard a voice not outside, but deep inside my head. Wake up. The next few days blurred together in a fog of sleeplessness and police questions. I told them the truth, or at least the version of it that wouldn't put me in a battered room. A strange woman had shown up outside my building. She'd taken her own life. My friend had been there, but hadn't hurt her. That much was true. They found no ID on her. No passport, no phone, nothing. The only clue was a tiny scrap of paper in her coat pocket with a few words written in a language I didn't understand. They asked if I recognized her. I told them no. But I did. God help me, I did. Jake never came back. His car was gone by the next morning, his apartment empty by the end of the week. The landlord said he'd cleared out everything overnight, left no forwarding address, no trace. The police treated it like he'd simply run away. I knew better. I couldn't shake the image of him standing on my balcony that night, his voice calm and foreign, those eyes that weren't his anymore. Every time I closed mine, I saw the woman's face instead, her last expression frozen between sorrow and relief. A week later, the police contacted me again. They were holding a small burial for her, they said. No next of kin. No one else had claimed the body. They asked if I'd like to attend, since I was the only witness who'd shown any compassion. I almost said no. I almost deleted the message and tried to move on. But something in me, guilt, maybe wouldn't let it go. So I went. It was a grey morning, the kind where the clouds hang low enough to touch. The cemetery was quiet, except for the whisper of rain through dead leaves. Only 5 people stood around the open grave. A priest, 2 police officers, a woman from the embassy, and me. They'd put her in a plain pine coffin with no nameplate. The priest said a few words about a life unknown yet still sacred. It felt hollow, mechanical. I stared at the coffin at the raindrops collecting on the wood and tried to picture her as a real person, someone with memories, a home, a voice that hadn't trembled in fear. But all I could see was her standing under the streetlight, her lips moving in apology, the blade flashing in her hand. When it was over, the others drifted away. I stayed behind. The priest, a kindly man with deep lines around his eyes, came over. "You knew her?" he asked gently. I swallowed hard, staring down at the fresh dirt. "In a way," I said. He nodded slowly, waiting the way priests do when they sense there's more to the story. Tears stung my eyes before I realized they were there. I forced a weak smile. "She was my best friend," I said. He looked puzzled but didn't ask. He just laid a hand on my shoulder, murmured something about peace, and walked away. I stood there a long time after that, until the rain soaked through my clothes and the cold crept into my bones. Eventually, I turned to leave. That was when my phone buzzed. At first, I ignored it, but then I saw the name on the screen. Jake. My stomach dropped. I hesitated for a long moment before opening the message. It was short, just one sentence. "I dreamed I was you last night. Thank you for setting me free." I stood there frozen, the rain falling harder, now the world shrinking to the glow of that screen. I wanted to believe it was some sick prank, that someone had found his phone, that this was just another cruel coincidence. But then I noticed something else, something small, but it hollowed me out. The contact photo. It wasn't Jake's face anymore. It was hers. The woman from the bridge smiling faintly through the static of the camera lens. The phone slipped from my hand into the wet grass. I left it there, buzzing against the earth, until it went silent. That night, when I finally fell asleep, I dreamed I was standing on a bridge over a highway, bathed in sunlight. The air smelled foreign and warm. I looked down at my hands, at the unfamiliar lines and wrinkles the ring I didn't own. And somewhere far away, I heard my own voice. Jake's voice whisper softly, "Wake up." Then everything went white. They buried her without a name, just a pine box, a few words, and rain that never seemed to stop. No one ever found Jake. His apartment remained empty, rent unpaid, laptop gone. Some claim to have seen him online, posting in strange forums, writing in a language no one could trace. Others say a new face appeared on that same live traffic feed weeks later. A man standing on the bridge, smiling at the camera. If you ever come across it, don't watch too long. Sometimes the screen looks back. This was NightLore. If you're still awake, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn off your lights. You never know who might be watching you through the glass.